Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and haven't you ever just wanted to do this? No, but in all seriousness. Yeah, that is right. We are doing a first impressions to Keijo today. And this thing I got at Youmacon for free because a fellow crew member was giving away a bunch of stuff. I just think these things are fucking hilarious. These titty mouse pads and stuff. I've seen some pretty creative ones too, some that focus on like the ass and everything. And that's really fitting because today we are talking about my first impressions review of Keijo. There, this side. So this is a series that I obviously heard about. Everyone has heard about. Anyone who has anything to do with being in the anime community has heard of this series because when it first aired, it blew up. Not because it's an ecchi, not because it has cute girls, but because of its absolutely balls to the wall ridiculous premise. See, the story centers around this girl here, Nozuki. Nozuki is a just out of high school girl who wants to join this national sport somehow called Keijo, in which two girls at a time stand on this floating piece of land in the middle of a pool and use only their asses and tits to knock the other one off. You know those, like, have you ever, like, been, like, on a foam pit? Like a pit of foam blocks and everything? And you have, like, the foam, like, weapons? And you try to knock your opponent off? It's very much like that. Except instead of having weapons, they have just their tits and their asses. The premise of this is so ridiculously stupid, and the presentation of it in the show is so over the top and needlessly epic that it got just this global attention when it came out. Everyone was talking about it. And my thoughts at the time were that it looked ridiculous. It wasn't really anything that would appeal to me. And I think that's because at the time when this came out, I was under the belief that I was asexual. Which, as I've stated before, and I think I made an entire video about, was mostly due to past traumas and just how the church and other influences around me made me believe that sex was bad and everything. So, yeah. Once I came to terms with sexuality and everything with myself and came fully out as pansexual, I've become a lot more open to this stuff. And I've never been, like, afraid of nudity or whatnot. And I've watched porn, even back when I said I was asexual and everything. I still watched porn and everything then. I just tried to make myself feel more ashamed about it, which was not healthy, but I'm not afraid of that stuff, especially now. So, especially with the fact that I just did a first impressions reaction to interspecies reviewers, I noticed that since Rough Senpai had been reacting to this series, I decided to, you know what, I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna give it a chance, see what it's like, see if it's as ridiculous. And consensus is, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid as hell. It is probably one of the dumbest shows I have ever watched. And I've only watched the first episode, mind you, currently. And it's amazing. It is so absolutely stupid, but it knows it is. It fully understands what it is. It's not trying to take itself seriously. And it actually ends up being so fucking hilarious and genuinely really entertaining because of it. Like, you have these girls shouting out move names like it's a shonen anime with the most needlessly hype animation and visuals surrounding their asses and tits. Some of the moves they do are so literally impossible as well. Like there's one shot where the main character, Nozuki, she's doing, I think it's like a test to get in, and she's facing this other girl who's absolutely insane, by the way. Like this other girl uses her ass so fast, she whips it around so fast that she can knock the jaw of her opponent and literally discombobulate them. And it's like, what? But Nozuki's facing her, and Nozuki, like, they're starting to use their tits and everything. Nozuki catches her swimsuit in her cleavage and pulls her swimsuit back to throw the girl off of her balance. And it's like, you do not have that kind of muscle control in your tits. That is not how any of this works. But again, they understand that. The creators of this, the animators of this, they know what they're doing. They know it's stupid. They know it's ridiculous. They know it's even impossible with some of the stuff that they're doing. Obviously, no one can swing their hips and ass around that fast to discombobulate someone by snapping it against their jaw. That's not possible. But it's not meant to be. It's meant to be stupid. It's meant to be ridiculous. But yeah, so the first episode mainly focuses on Nozuki and her starting out in this, I guess it's supposed to be like a college, a post-high school training academy for the sport. She gets accepted in, but it seems just barely, while there's others who are kind of like these prodigies and who are seen as like the valuable ones, the ones who have the best chance. While she's viewed as someone who's just barely there in the first place and is probably going to leave, like, very shortly. We get to see how she has connections, though, with people who are pretty high up. She has a friend who's pretty well looked at, who was, like, captain of the judo team, but has chosen to pursue Keijo instead, or Keijo, because it's because of the cute swimsuits. Like, we literally find that out in this episode. It's literally just because of the cute swimsuits and stuff. And it's like, that's completely fair. I can't even fault you for that. It's like, that's a good enough reason for me. But like this other girl, she has connections with some really popular ones. Some ones who are seen as like the tip top and have gotten like the first and the second position in the training in the what's it called? The preliminary entrance exam, let's call it that. And it's really cool to see them kind of showcase like that there are different levels to this, weirdly enough. We also get to see a training, or not really a training, but another little exam, a little early entrance exam once they're already in, where they have to like, actually I think that exam we saw was the one before we were in, never mind. But like during that, we see not only are there the land, but there's the little spaces between. It's kind of acting as a little relay as well, and certain members are teaming up against others. And most of them are taken out by this like pink-haired, purple-haired girl who's insane and is probably my favorite character right now, just based off the first episode. She is absolutely insane. Again, she's the one who does the booty whip crack to knock the jaw and everything. It's like, but her personality is like, once she's in the zone, it's like, you watch out because she's scary. Most of the girls do tend to look like each other in terms of body shape and all. Like most of them are just average size, except when they're playing for some reason. Like when they're just standing there or when they're just in other outfits, they look normal. But when they're actually competing, their asses and breasts like grow during action scenes, it seems. Like they're much larger than they were at any other point. And it's like, I think it's just supposed to be like a visual gag of sorts. Like, it's like you see them standing around, it's like their asses and tits aren't that big. No. But then you see them like swing them around, and all of a sudden they're like three sizes bigger, and it's like, the fuck? I think it's supposed to be the joke, but it's noticeable. But there are a couple characters who do have a different body type. There's one of the other students who at first was pegged for like the top class, but ends up not getting so. And she's noticeably taller than everyone else and noticeably buffer. Like she's the tall buff girl of the group. And it's like, I want to see more of you. Because she doesn't have a lot to do in this first episode. She's just kind of introduced. But it's like, you know how I feel about buff girls. And all these girls, by the way, are of age. So I can thirst over them all I want. Because this is, you have to be out of high school and all. But then there's also the coach, I guess that's her position. Coach. She's large. She's a large person. She is, I guess you could say, overweight. But she's also known, like, it makes it very clear that she's known as like almost like a legend in this. Like, she even has the nickname the Siren, which is like, for anything involving water, if your opponent has the nickname Siren, watch out. Because if you know, like, the mythology and stuff of sirens, it's like, yeah, that's scary. But yeah, it's very much implied that despite her size, she's still very formidable. And I actually really like that. Because it actually shows a bit of body positivity. Even if Nozuki mentions, like, she's not a siren, she's a seal. And that's how the episode ends, by the way. Just kind of making, like, a joke. But I think that's the point. I think Nozuki's supposed to not understand how good she is at first. And that in the next episode, which, again, I haven't seen yet, she's going to completely change her mind on that once she sees this lady in action. But yeah, we also get Nozuki and her friend ending up in the same dorm room together, along with a couple other girls. One of the girls is really quiet and usually just reading a magazine and only speaks out once Nozuki accidentally rips the magazine. The other girl is a country bumpkin type character. You know, she has the country accent, which I don't understand the intricacies, admittedly, of the Japanese language. So it's like, the way she's speaking in Japanese people would understand that she has an accent. Right? But for me as an American, she just sounds like she's speaking the same as all the others. I don't know the difference. And it probably has to do with, like, certain words she's using and all, but I don't hear a difference in the accent. And that's on me, admittedly. And this has come up in other anime, too. Other anime have had this kind of character in it, too. But it's like, it's really interesting. But this country bumpkin girl is also extremely clumsy, but at the same time is constantly denying that she's clumsy. It's like, oh no, I'm not clumsy. People always say I'm clumsy, but no. And this is like right after she's like tripped over her bag and like flipped over on the floor, and it's like, okay, that's an interesting character trait. And it seems like the more flustered she gets, the more she lets her natural accent out. But yeah, it's something that I don't hear because I'm not Japanese and I don't understand the intricacies and differences in Japanese language. Like, with English, if I heard an English speaker speak in a southern accent, it's like, oh yeah, I'd recognize that right away. Especially having lived in the South for a couple years. It's like, I would recognize what that sounds like. And it's like, that's because I'm American, and I would understand that. An American Southern accent is what I'm talking about, too, by the way. It's like if I heard like a Southern British accent, because England has multiple different accents. A lot of people don't realize that. Same with Ireland and all. It's not just a single accent. If I heard like a Southern British accent, I probably wouldn't be able to differentiate it that much from a Northern British accent. But like those who live in the UK very easily would. It just depends on what you grow up around and what you hear throughout your life. Um, but yeah, it was definitely a setup episode. It showed some action and the visuals, the actual like animation was fantastic. Like, ig- ignoring the fact that it's centered around such a ridiculous premise, the actual animation was so good. It was so well animated. The art style is good too. It looks really clean and really crisp. And I can actually really genuinely just appreciate that. The soundtrack we didn't get to hear too much of, I guess. It didn't really stand out too much. It wasn't bad. Like, nothing, like, felt off about it. But it didn't stand out too much. And, like, in terms of the actual, like, characters and their depth, we're just starting to get to know them, so it's hard to say. Um, but as an overall thoughts, I thought the first episode of Keijo was fucking hilarious and fun. It's not taking itself seriously at all. It's meant to be a joke. It's using shonen tropes for a ridiculous ecchi sports anime, and it knows that it's just trying to have fun and that it's absolutely stupid in premise. But it rolls with that and makes it the most fun it possibly can. So, although I didn't used to ever want to check out this series, like I said, I wanted to check it out because I got this titty mouse pad from Youmacon, and because Rough Senpai was checking it out, I just decided I'll just watch with him. I love his reactions. It wouldn't be the first series I've watched blind with him. I mean, technically I saw like 15 episodes of Hunter x Hunter in the past, but most of it was still blind with his reactions. And honestly, I was genuinely impressed. It was fun, it was entertaining, and the character of Nozuki herself is likable. She's an enjoyable character. She has a dream. She wants to accomplish that. And yeah, of course, there's the sexiness. There's the sex appeal with a series. Any ecchi series has got to have that. And yeah, the characters are hot. Of course, they're literally drawn to be hot. So, no real complaints there, you know? And some people might like find the idea weird. It's like, oh, but she's still just out of high school. She's 18 years old, as she says in the series. It's still a little weird. You're 30 years old going on 31 in a couple weeks. It's like, yeah, I could see what you're saying, but one, this is fiction. Two, my thoughts have always been if two people are consenting adults, the age gap doesn't actually matter. As long as they both are consenting adults, that they are well informed, and that they have thought things through, who cares if they have a relationship? As long as they're both adults, that's what matters. I've the entire age gap thing is like, it's something that's never really been a big deal to me. A lot of people always like go like, oh, this 70-year-old man is dating like a 30-year-old supermodel, and it's like, so? I don't get why that's such a big deal. Again, they're consenting adults. Who gives a shit? Yeah, he would most likely die way before her, but who cares? It's their choice. It's their freedom. You may think it's a little weird, but there's nothing actually wrong with it. It doesn't bother me. And again, it's fiction and it's an ecchi series. Like, who gives a shit? As long as all the characters are adults, which they are, then who gives a shit? Why does it matter? Y'all just finding something to complain about. And believe me, I've been someone who's done that myself, so I can speak from experience about just looking for something to complain about. But yeah, I genuinely enjoyed this first episode, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of episode 1 of Keijo? Let me know down below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.